Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for joining me for Real Talk NFT. As you know, I'm your host, Brian, and we have a great guest here for you today. It's Phillip Alexeev. He's the Chief Growth Officer at CrossFi, and they're doing some big things in the world of payment solutions for us Web3 users. But honestly, I had Phillip on our crypto summit recently and had a great, engaging talk with Phillip. And I was like, hey, I would love for you to jump on our podcast. So, Phillip, once again, hey, thanks again for jumping on the podcast, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me back. I'm really excited to chat, and it's always a good one here. So it's going to be great.
I appreciate it. And I learned a ton about payment solutions and CrossFi as a layer one during our last conversation. But before we would dive deep, I remember you have a really interesting background. Would love for you to give the audience just kind of how you got into Web3 and why you're in this space to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to talk about my career as running growth for emerging industries. So pretty much throughout my entire career, I've kind of been pushing the boundaries of new technology and how to help people adopt that technology and really how to proliferate it out into the world. And so, started my career when I was in college. I started a growth marketing agency back when that was still kind of nascent, right around the time that Twitter was gaining popularity. And so I started helping businesses adopt digital technology and adopt digital channels to help grow their customer base. And so kind of went from that into 3D printing, and then from 3D printing went into augmented reality, virtual reality. Had two successful exits with both of those companies. So that was a good little couple of milestones in my career. And then from virtual reality, really started getting very interested in the world of crypto right around the time that kind of the world of finance was falling apart. I'm always looking to zig when everybody's zagging. And so I see, people are really disenfranchised with banks. People are, just upset about the finance world as a whole. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's got to be some sort of alternative, right? We're not just stuck in this one narrow path that we're all forced to take. And so obviously stumbled upon Bitcoin and then kind of went down that rabbit hole. And then, just kind of combining that with where my career was headed, I was thinking, well, I could just do what I do, but then help some of these crypto companies that are starting to come out, be successful and acquire customers and really help them on their growth mission. And so I was very early to work with a company called Decentraland, which I'm sure some of you might remember from the early days. So Decentraland was one of my first clients in the crypto space. Then went on to work with another company that some of you might still know today called CoinList. And then basically from there, I mean, it was just working with a bunch of different, both small and larger, very interesting companies in the crypto space, kind of, again, doing what I do for them, helping them understand how to market their business, helping them acquire customers, helping them form their funnels, and really just create those growth loops that, become a core part of successful businesses. And then just through my network and through the world as it is, found myself running growth at Binance, which was an extremely interesting experience. And I learned a lot, and I learned how crypto operates at scale, and I learned how growth applies to crypto operating at scale. Then after Binance, I went on to be a co-founder of the world's first eco-friendly hosted Bitcoin mining service. So kind of polar opposites of the spectrum, right? One is like the DeFi side of things, and then here is like hardcore eco-friendly Bitcoin mining. And all of that entire journey led me to where I am today, which is Chief Growth Officer here at CrossFi. I'm really excited about what we're building. I'm really excited about the implications for the rest of the world. And I think it is, just going to be something that is going to be a complete game changer for the way that we think about both Web3 and traditional finance, and then how we bridge that gap.
Yeah, I love your experience. I mean, you have just a wide variety at some big name companies, but I think it really gives you a great perspective on what you're building right now, CrossFi. And it seems like from our last conversation, we'll dive deeper about CrossFi, but it really feels like you care about the user experience onboarding people into crypto, making it easy. So tell us a little bit about CrossFi and what the goals are with the company.
Yeah, totally. So CrossFi is, in its essence, it's an ecosystem. It encompasses a layer one blockchain, which kind of, is to parity with all of the other layer one blockchains. So everything that you would expect, amazing products being built on it, a whole suite of awesome DeFi tools, everything from kind of your standard swaps and staking all the way down to some really interesting products that are currently built around real world assets, synthetic assets, things like that. But I think for me personally, one of the most exciting pieces of the CrossFi ecosystem is the flagship payment technology that we've been working on. And essentially, what that is for the first time in history, truly non custodially allowing you to connect any Web3 wallet to our app and then be able to pay anywhere around the world at any point of sale that accepts Visa with your crypto. And so converting your crypto to the native currency at the point of sale and then allowing you to either use a physical or a virtual Visa card to be able to pay for your purchases, effectively bridging the gap between Web3, making it non custodial, making sure that there's no middlemen because we work directly with Visa. So there's nothing kind of standing in our way of that integration. And I think most interestingly, and something that I've never seen before, really pushing Visa to work directly and communicate directly with the blockchain, which is something that a lot of these companies have tried to do before, but have never been successful in doing. And we have made exactly that happen. And I'm super pumped about it.
Yeah, it seems like Visa really starts to play the game with blockchain every once in a while. It was just a few years ago. I remember when they bought the CryptoPunk during the NFT bull run of 2021, and it just like set the internet on fire. They're like, Visa's one of us. Maybe they're not quite there, but they're absolutely getting there. And the partnership that you have with them is extremely impressive. And that's what makes me really attracted to what you're building at CrossFi. But why do you think people prefer to pay in like self custodial crypto in place of fiat at the end of the day?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons for it. I think we have all kind of throughout the last decade or so, we've seen the potential pitfalls of somebody else holding your money. I mean, in crypto, we're very familiar with not your keys, not your coins, right? If it's not on your wallet, if you don't own the private keys to where your coins are, these are not your coins. Somebody else is holding them. Something else can happen. But I think, as the kind of pitfalls of traditional finance have emerged. I mean, people realized, right, like you have FDIC insurance, sure, you have 250K in the bank. Okay, well, you can potentially get your 250K back. But what happens beyond that? What happens when there's a bank run? What happens when you have all of your money entrusted to a specific institution and now all of a sudden you don't have access to it for one reason or another? Either, they don't have it, or they tell you that you can't access your money for some reason, or they decide that, right now is not the time for you to withdraw everything that's in your bank account. And so I think for the first time in history, since probably the Great Depression, people came to understand what it truly means to be sovereign in finance, to own your own money, right? To make sure that you are the holder of your own finances. And so I think a lot of the world has truly come around to the idea of self custody, right? So I hold my own money. I am directly responsible for it. Yes, there's, potential issues that can arise if I'm not careful with it. But at the same time, nobody can tell me when I can access my money, how I can access my money, how much of my money I can access. So I think that's kind of one side of the equation. Then the other side of the equation that I think a lot of people really don't think about, because you and I, we're so fortunate to be able to have access to the banking infrastructure that we do. I have credit cards, I have debit cards, I have digital banking, I have neo banking, I have all of these things at my fingertips. And now I don't even need to leave my house. I literally have, my apps, I have everything is right off my phone. Well, the majority of the world is not that fortunate. And a lot of the world, especially the folks that we have become fortunate enough to work with do not have access to that kind of banking infrastructure. And so basically, they're relying on things like crypto to be able to transact in their day-to-day lives, to be able to send their friends money, to be able to send money across borders, which is something that, if you have friends and family in other countries that may not be as accessible in kind of like the traditional financial sphere of influence, that's a big deal to be able to transact cross-border seamlessly, to be able to send your friends money when you don't have access to a bank, and then to pay for everyday goods and services. And so I think people have realized that crypto is a lot more than just an opportunity to make money or even an opportunity to be sovereign with your finances. It truly enables people to participate in the global economy and be able to transact the way that you and I do. And so I think when you couple this kind of distrust in these large institutions holding your money with the ability to conduct financial transactions extremely seamlessly without any middleman telling you that, nope, you can't make that payment, or nope, you can't send this person money, I think people are really starting to understand the benefits of crypto as a payment technology, of crypto as a remittance technology. And then, of course, one of the things that we at CrossFi here do is that we truly believe in this kind of seamless world of Web3 and traditional finance. And so, as we see this trend start to emerge where people love to transact with crypto, they prefer crypto for a multitude of reasons, that I just talked about. Well, we don't want them to be stuck in that crypto space. So if the time comes where, they hold the majority of their assets in crypto and they need to transact in the real world at places where crypto is not accepted, potentially going to be accepted soon, but at the moment not accepted everywhere, I think what we do is we provide them that opportunity to take their crypto and transform it into something that's available to spend at any point of sale in the entire world that accepts Visa. So I think that's a pretty special bridge that we're building, and we're enabling a lot more than just crypto degens like you and I. Really, a whole portion of the world that really doesn't have access to this type of infrastructure.
Yeah, so well said. At the end of the day, just the blockchain technology and making things more efficient and easier for people across the world, not just within the United States, is so important. And you're really doing that at CrossFi because this is open globally, from what I remember. Correct? It's anywhere Visa is accepted. So this is globally. So this is very easy for anybody to onboard and transition. Now, if I remember from our initial conversation, are you still in the testnet phase and you're moving towards the mainnet phase? Where are we there?
Yeah, so we're still in the testnet phase, mainnet coming very, very soon. As far as the payment technology, we're currently in kind of friends and family. So we've got 150 cards distributed worldwide. We have successful transactions going through in Southeast Asia, in the United Arab Emirates, all over the United States, all over Europe, basically at any point around the globe where we really want to make sure that the technology is working seamlessly, and make sure that we're able to actually service the customers that we are acquiring, and then also be able to deliver on our promise. And so, yeah, testnet is going phenomenally. We've got some of the world's top validators involved in our testnet. The feedback from them has been incredible. They love working with us. They love working with our technology. We've got folks building some absolutely insane products on our blockchain. I mean, stuff that like blows my mind. And I've been in the space for so long, and I'm like, yes, this is exactly why we built this blockchain. Yes, we built it to power, our financial sort of suite and our payment technology. We built it to scale. We built it to be secure. We built it to be, just extremely efficient, which then lends itself to folks just building awesome products on it. And then, of course, on the user side, we've got almost 1 million wallets already on the testnet side. We've got folks conducting daily transactions. We've got folks giving us a lot of feedback, which we're then reincorporating and really stress testing the system to make sure that everything is functioning the way that it was intended. But yeah, testnet is going phenomenally, and I'm extremely excited to go into mainnet and then be able to open up the card orders, because I feel like every single person that I've spoken to, VCs, journalists, interviews like this, everybody hits me up after and they're like, hey, Phil, how do I get one of those cards? And I'm like, I got you. Coming soon. You'll be one of the first, and so I've got a long white list of people that I need to get in there and get access to these things. So yeah, it's all been really exciting considering the fact that we've been working on this for the last 5 years. CrossFi didn't happen overnight. CrossFi is a very extensive building phase of working with banks, working with the Web3 tech, making sure that it's all working together, making sure that we're actually able to bring this thing to market. And I think, after all this time, it's amazing to see it all coming together.
Yeah, I love it. I actually didn't message you directly, but I remember after our first interview, I was like, I need to get one of those cards.
Yep,
And
and you're on the white list.
we talked a little bit about just I've seen a lot of different crypto cards available, and it just that wasn't really native to me because I was so just used to like utilizing decentralized wallets or exchanges, and but I was never really making a lot of everyday purchases. But now it feels like we're catching this bull run, and I'm exploring that personally more, thinking about like being retail, spending crypto more every day for everyday purchases, and how I need to move forward with that. And I'm getting more and more interested, more educated, talking with individuals like you. But would you mind talking a little bit about, feels like a bull market's coming if we're not already at the beginning of it, and how that's impacting retail user demand for crypto payments really on a day-to-day basis?
So anytime that, the market starts shifting over into kind of, the index of greed more than the index of fear, you do, as, kind of having worked in the space and having worked with many companies that rely on consumers kind of coming in and retail users coming in and using the technology, you always see an influx of users. I mean, as ironic as it is, people follow the money, right? And so when they see markets are pumping, things are looking good, all of a sudden it's not, oh no, this is going to die and this is bad and this is going away. It's oh, let me check this stuff out. Let me give it a shot. Let me learn about it. And so it's always interesting to see kind of the waves of influx. Every time that we see the market fluctuate up, you get a wave of influx. When you see it fluctuate down, people kind of put it to the wayside and start focusing on other things. And so, what we are seeing right now, and I think, to your point, we are in the beginning stages of a bull run. It's, everything is lining up to the point where and you and I have been in multiple cycles before. And so we kind of see how this stuff is looking, from the insider's perspective. And absolutely, we are seeing, prices start to move in the right direction. We are starting to see a lot more interest, both in terms of the media as well as retail. And then, don't forget about venture capital and all of the stuff going on with the ETFs. I mean, we are absolutely starting to see the next wave kind of starting to develop. And so as that happens, people are starting to become a lot more curious. People are starting to look for opportunities. People are starting to kind of wake up and remember, oh, I've got this, little stash of crypto that I've been holding on to for the last few years. And now all of a sudden, something that was worth X is now worth Y. So, what do I do with this? And so, ironically enough, I think in the world of crypto, there's a lot of people that kind of made investments that didn't really know what the follow through plan was going to be. And so they kind of like put their money into crypto, and now that money has grown. And, without really giving it too much thought, they are now trying to figure out, so like, what's my plan for this? What's my strategy for this? How do I continue to either grow my investment, or how do I take advantage of the growth of my investment? And so what we're seeing now is, a lot of folks that do have some sizable amount of assets in the crypto space, figuring out what to actually go and do with those assets. And so, one of the things that we are seeing from the side of CrossFi is people coming over into our infrastructure in the hopes of being able to take those assets, and unlike kind of the traditional stock market, or even going through and selling your assets on an exchange and transferring that money to your bank, and things that I think a lot of non-Web3 native folks are just unfamiliar with, or kind of worried about doing. It seems complicated. It seems like there's a lot of process. Well, wait, I can actually spend my crypto with this card. there's really not much that I have to do in order to be able to take this investment that I made, take this growth that I've experienced, and then be able to bring it out into the real world and maybe pay for my groceries, maybe take my girlfriend out to eat, do all of the things that we want to do when we, have some money in our pocket. And so I think we're seeing a lot of that trend happening in addition to, kind of the other segments of users that I had talked about. That is definitely something that we are experiencing as CrossFi. And I think the industry as a whole is starting to experience. It's like I call it the what's next phenomenon, right? So I made this investment, I, maybe made some profits. What's next? What do I do? Well, we're here to provide, a potential opportunity to do something with it. There are other companies that are building awesome products that are also providing, opportunities to take your investment and to take your profits to the next level and be able to actually bridge that gap between the digital world and real life.
Yeah, I think we both can agree. I mean, you've been in this industry for so long that, this is just the tip of the iceberg of where we're going. And when we talk about coming into a bull run, I mean, even with the election, the ETFs, we got Trump going to Bitcoin Nashville. We have JD Vance getting touted about the next vice president, crypto savior. There's just so much in the news now about crypto that's positive. I really feel like, this upcoming fall we're gonna see some new highs. And you mentioned somewhere there that made me chuckle because some people bought some crypto in the last run and they kind of forgot about it. I'm getting text messages all the time from friends that I possibly onboarded. They maybe bought the top a little bit of the last bull run, and they're like, "Hey, I'm up on my investment.
I'm
How
back,
do I
baby.
get how do I get more?" I was like, "Well, I did tell you that we should probably dollar cost average while it's in the lows, but we're going to new highs, and it's exciting that now you have this flagship payment technology where people can actually utilize this in their everyday life and really benefit. And that's what I'm most excited about CrossFi. But you have even more things going on there. I know on the website you talk a lot about like RWAs and tokenization, and we even have like Goldman Sachs and BlackRock talking about how that's going to be a $10 trillion industry. I'd love to get your opinion there and possibly just talk a little bit about your DeFi tools that are also available on CrossFi.
Absolutely. So obviously, as a layer one blockchain, I mean, a lot of our bandwidth is indeed invested into working with kind of the latest and greatest when it comes to, the suite of progressive DeFi tools that, power users come to expect from platforms, from blockchains. And so, on the side of CrossFi and in terms of the DeFi suite of things, of course, we enable kind of your standard suite of things that you would come to expect. So, being able to stake, being able to swap, being able to play around with all kinds of interesting financial instruments. But we are indeed really working with some very smart people to understand kind of what is the future of DeFi, right? So not DeFi as it stands today and not building to parity, but really pushing boundaries. And so, exploring a lot of like you mentioned, like we talked about earlier, real world assets, synthetic assets. What is being done today with kind of those fields of study, right? How is that potentially, where are the pitfalls in what's being done today? How, can that potentially go wrong? How are other folks building this, really analyzing these things, really trying to understand what is it that we can take away from this that's positive, but also what can we do better? And then, of course, coupling that with, the speed, the efficiency, the security of our blockchain. How do we take this, I call them fields of study because it's nascent technology. It's so new. You are taking something that is has never been done before, from a tokenization of real world assets, or taking things and creating potential pairs on the blockchain of existing assets out into the real world. And so, for me, I look at them as kind of, they are financial experiments, but, how do you build this financial experiment in the most educated way? How do you take all of the learnings? How do you take all of the potential analyses? And how do you package all of that up in a way that we can bring that to our users in the best possible shape that we could ever imagine? And then, of course, again, coupling that with one of the more efficient blockchains that enables a high volume of transactions, that enables really fast transactions, something that powers real world payment tech, and then coupling
Yeah.
those two things together. That is really our ethos when it comes to, these really progressive financial vehicles in the DeFi space. And so that's kind of what we've been focusing a lot of our resources on at CrossFi when we're not fully heads down bringing the the flagship payment tech to market.
Yeah, not all blockchains are scalable for payment solutions, and CrossFi is, or that's yes, CrossFi is. My next question would be: over the next 3 to 5 years, where do you think just crypto, blockchain, and where that's going to develop, how that's going to grow, and where CrossFi is going to fit into that mold?
The next 3 to 5 years is going to be really interesting in terms of the blockchain space because we're going to see a few different trends emerge. I think one, it is going to truly proliferate into our kind of daily use habits. I think there's a lot of understanding, and there are a lot of folks that are starting to embrace this technology not as something that's distant in the future, a potential experiment that we're all playing, but we are really starting to see crypto embed itself into the traditional finance markets. We're starting to see banks embrace these. We're starting to see hedge funds embrace crypto. We're starting to see when family offices start embracing something, that something is brewing, right? So I think that's kind of one big trend in terms of where crypto is headed, and it's no longer going to be this niche thing that folks like you and I are super interested in, and we're always talking about it, and people think we're crazy. Well, maybe we were crazy at some point, but now I think if you're not looking into crypto, that actually makes you crazy, because this is indeed going to be the future of a lot of different industries, and first and foremost, kind of starting with finance and payments and daily transactions. And I think the other sort of thing that I see emerging, or a couple of other trends that I see emerging, are, well, I know that there's going to be a lot of focus on efficiency improvement, right? So
Mhm.
the same ways that L2s came around and they're sort of building on existing infrastructure, well, we're going to see L3s. We're going to see a lot of focus on making this thing that all of these people are adopting more usable, more secure, more efficient. So I think that's a huge trend that we're, going to need to follow. And I think just from a personal perspective, I think there's a couple of different things that are really going to stand out over the coming years. So one, I think intellectual property is a huge one.
Yeah.
I think blockchain for intellectual property is something that is still so early stage, but I think is just going to solve so many of the issues that we are facing today, is going to reduce the amount of lawsuits, into a fraction of what's going on today. I think it's, going to indicate clear ownership of all kinds of different forms of media, just any sort of intellectual property. I think that is a huge one. I think we are already seeing this, but I think is again going to just continue growing and evolving, is blockchain for the logistics industry. I mean, the entire world as we know it, the coffee that you and I drink, just everything that we buy in any store that we buy it at relies on this world of logistics in order to be functional. And we saw what happened during COVID. When logistics suffers, we suffer as consumers. And so blockchain technology has this massive opportunity to not only improve the efficiency of the logistics industry, but also to really help us as consumers understand where are the products that we consume coming from. One of my favorite use cases of blockchain was actually I met somebody who owns a vineyard that is powered entirely by the blockchain, and the grapes that they grow, where they get those grapes from, where those grapes are processed, where they are turned into wine, and then all the way down to where this wine is sold is all tracked on the blockchain. So when I buy a bottle of this wine as a consumer, I know exactly who's touched every aspect of its production, and I want that for everything that I consume. I mean, selfishly, I want to know where my olive oil is coming from. I want to know where the bread that I'm eating is coming from. I want to know these things because it helps me be more of an informed consumer. And last but not least, I think this is something that ironically enough has, kind of always been a part of the crypto ethos, is kind of like, not necessarily having to reveal identity, right? Is like being able to hide behind your wallet, being able to hide behind a
Yeah.
PFP. Well, I think identity on the blockchain is actually going to be something that is a huge trend that's going to emerge, because well, I guess, initially there's a lot of really smart people that are very focused on solving that problem, and that are sort of pushing that onto the consumer space, which, whenever you have very powerful, very smart, very influential people actively putting their time and resources behind something, chances are that that's going to, kind of come to fruition in society. But I also think that there's so many different aspects of identity. For example, identity theft, right? Very preventable with blockchain technology. Just being able to exist in a passportless world, being able to travel seamlessly between countries. I mean, all of these things, if you just think about the application of blockchain technology to these aspects of life, you very quickly come to understand that, like, there is a better way to do it. And just like with payments, and just like with finance, and just like the way that CrossFi is solving for that aspect of things, there are going to be some amazing companies that solve for these aspects of blockchain technology integration into daily life. And I truly, as a consumer, am looking forward to it, because it's going to make our lives better.
Yeah, so well said. I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's a lot of smart people building a lot of cool products, a lot of cool apps. Like you said, even on CrossFi, there's a lot of cool developers building stuff right now that's going to change the world. And you just called out a few different points: crypto and NFTs and RWAs and blockchain. I mean, it's just such, even when I try to explain it to somebody, all they want to talk to, like a newbie, is like possibly Bitcoin. Is the price going to go up or go down? What's the next ETF? And I'm like, these are all points I love to talk about and I am bullish on. But to just go down the rabbit hole and talking about how this is going to absolutely revolutionize the world is mind boggling for a lot of people. I love that you're in the industry. I love the way that you're approaching it. I think CrossFi is going to be a huge hit. I want to give you an opportunity to give a shout out to everyone in the audience, how they could connect with you, and most importantly, how they could connect with CrossFi.
Absolutely. Well, as far as CrossFi, www.crossfi.org. Connect with us on all of our socials. Go check out our Discord, join our Telegram, connect with us on formerly Twitter, now X, and just follow the journey. We've got a lot of really interesting stuff to come. And as a community member, you of course have first access to all of this. And then from a personal perspective, you can find me on X at GoFillionaire, as as it's spelled, you would imagine. And then you can hit me up on Telegram. It's just at Fillionaire. And then I do have a sort of a pet project that I've been working on, kind of in the theme of taking complicated technologies and simplifying them for everyday consumers. I started a weekly series called evergrow.io. So it's just www.evergrow.io, where I basically take crypto concepts and I simplify them for the daily user. I'm a big believer in helping people understand, embrace, and get value from new technology. And I think, there's a lot of content that's sort of servicing industry insiders that, is amazing, because, you and I can go and we can check it out and we can learn more and we can dive deeper. But I think, still to this day, right, you were just telling me you have people coming to you asking these, like, what you would think are super simple questions, and they're still not able to figure out, or they're still not confident enough to be able to take action on some of these things that you and I just, we could do it with our eyes closed. And so I really want to make it my mission to help people, everyday people, understand crypto technology and not have to be super technical and not have to be gatekeepy, and really, be able to provide that information in a way that is dead simple to understand, without the complexity, without any of the craziness. And so, yeah, it's something that I work on nights and weekends in my free time.
I'm going to make sure I put evergrow.io in the description, along with all the CrossFi links. So everyone check it out, doing some big things in the industry. Phillip, really appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks for having me.